Today we're talking about the top 6 RPGs ever made. This is the definitive list, and I'm not here to tickle your balls and tell you that this is my list and everyone has their own list, and your list might be different from my list. And that might be your favorite game and it's a great choice, but my list is a little bit different. No, that's not what this is. This is the definitive list. This is the list. There are no exceptions to the list. I don't tickle balls unless it's my own balls, of course, which I do tickle from time to time. So let's start with the top 6 list. Starting with, we might as well get number 1 out of the way, because anybody who watches my channel already knows what number 1 is. So let's just get it out of the way. Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo, which is also the greatest console of all time. This is otherwise known as Final Fantasy VI, if you go in numerical order, but the North American name is Final Fantasy III. So let's just state why it's the best game ever made. One of many reasons. I'll just pick one. Just 'cause. And quite simply, because it has very dark themes, very mature themes, which was very unheard of during this era. And still to this day, it can be very difficult to find some of the themes that were touched on in this game, some of those dark and mature themes. For example, this game explores suicide. One of the main characters kills herself or attempts to kill herself. And we're not talking about, oh, I'm sad, I might kill myself. No. She actually did make the attempt. It wasn't an attempt like, oh, I might try to do it. No, she actually did do it. She just happened to survive. And now might be a good time to let you know there's going to be spoilers in this video. There's going to be a lot of them. A lot of spoilers. So she jumps off a cliff into the water below. Very high cliff. It's a miracle she survived. But that was a very touching scene. In fact, I believe it was the most touching scene of any RPG ever made. That was the definitive scene. Some people would say a very popular scene, Final Fantasy VII, the death of Aerith. They would say that was a very shocking scene and very touching moment. That had nothing on this scene. It had nothing. And it also explores some other darker themes, such as killing millions of people and destroying the world. The main villain actually succeeds with his plan to kill and reshape the world. We're talking earth-splitting catastrophes, literally parts of the earth splitting open. This continent being split in half, and all the poor saps in the middle plunged to their deaths. Little Timmy watched his mother. Little Timmy was off playing in the playground over there. He watched his mother fall to her death as the earth split open. And shortly after, that giant building that little Timmy was underneath, perhaps that castle over there, that tower, came collapsing down, crushed little 5-year-old Timmy. But it didn't even get his whole body. It just got his lower torso. So as he was dying, he was watching his mother cling for her life on these cliffs. Trying to climb up, but she couldn't climb up. She's too weak. She couldn't do it. And little Timmy's screaming at her. She's screaming at little Timmy. She could just see him. She's just holding on to the cliff. Oh, she just barely see little Timmy. Hold on, little Timmy. Well, she didn't make it. Timmy wasn't able to hold on either. There was nobody around to save little Timmy. They were all dead. Those types of themes get explored in Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo. So, let's talk about the second best game ever made, RPG ever made. What could possibly be the second best? Well, I think it's obvious. It's Final Fantasy VI, otherwise known as Final Fantasy III. So what makes Final Fantasy VI the second best RPG ever made? Well, it has the best music ever made in any RPG in the history of RPGs. In fact, it goes one step further. It has the best music ever made in any video game ever made. And it goes one step beyond that. It has the best music made in any of any music ever made. Written by the greatest composer of all time. I've written his name down. I worship it as a false idol. Nobuo Uematsu. This man, some people would say, especially amongst the classical arts, they would say, oh, Beethoven and Mozart were wonderful composers. Perhaps the best composers in the world to have ever lived. But Nobuo Uematsu makes those composers look like child's play. I could compose better than Mozart in comparison. Mozart was nothing. I don't even want to hear the name Beethoven or Mozart said in the same sentence as this man. So what kind of music did he compose? If you've ever played the song, I'm gonna name a few. I mean, every song in Final Fantasy III is a masterpiece, but about 10% of the songs are not among the greatest of the great. But the other 90%, they're great. They make it to the top tier. Unbeatable by any other composer. The Loki theme song, Shadow theme song. Shadow was one of my favorites. The Searching for Friends theme song. The Realm theme song, Dancing Mad. The Coin Flip theme song between Edgar and Sabin. The Forever Rachel theme song. The opera. They literally made an opera. The Setzer theme song. I called him Gambit in my game. Like named him after the X-Men. Johnny C. Bad, Magitech Factory. Cyan theme song. The Terra theme song. The Epitaph, where you go searching for Daryl, Setzer's lover that had been killed in a terrible accident. That to me is one of my favorites. It's very underrated. Very, very underrated. So let's move on to number 3. Let's fly through these. Number 3 is obviously Final Fantasy III. Why? Because of the characters in this game. I believe there's 14 characters. But why the characters are so unique is, one, they're all very different, but I bring up the characters because the game was written in a way. So the guy who wrote the storyline deliberately did this on purpose. It was written in a way that you, the player, could choose who you thought the main character was or who would become your main character. So in other words, it was written in the best way physically possible to allow you to decide who the main character was. And that's why some people would make arguments as to who the main character really is, because it was written that way. There's one character that would obviously win most of the battles as to the fact that she would be the main character. And that is the Esper girl, Terra. But the storyline is not written that way. It's very balanced. Every character gets their own part of the story to shine. And then from that moment on, you can choose whoever you want to be your main character. You choose who's in your party. If I don't want to use that character, I never will. I don't have to. So the characters is a major, major, major event. So let's talk about another thing. Each character is also unique. They added a lot of very interesting features, such as each character having their own very unique ability. Loki can steal. Edgar can use tools. Celeste has the runic ability, which absorbs magic attacks. Very useful, very underrated. Terra turns into an Esper, which increases her attack power and her magic power. Increases all of her stats, I do believe. So let's go on to number 4. Might as well talk about the story. It has one of the best stories ever made in any RPG. And that story does fit in with number 1. Oh yeah, by the way, number 4, if I didn't mention, the best RPG ever made, the 4th best RPG ever made is Final Fantasy 3. And yeah, the story is very dark, very mature, and it spends a lot of time learning, going in depth on every single character, except for Umaru, the Sasquatch, and maybe Mog. They get the least amount of screen time, and also Go-Go, but pretty much everyone else gets a lot of screen time. And it really goes into depth on their background stories. So let's talk about number 5. This might be a game that you've never heard of before. It's called Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo. And what makes this game so good is there were a lot of secrets and rumors. Still to this day, some of those rumors still exist. Secret-wise, I'll say there's a very high number of secrets. Everything from secret rooms hiding in every portion of the game, every dungeon in the game. You, the player, most people watching this probably never found those secrets. You didn't even know they exist. You know that they exist now because I'm telling you that they exist. But many areas where they don't show you, you can walk through the wall in little spots where no player would ever think to explore. There's a hidden room in that corner, or that little wall that there's no indication that there's anything there. If you go there, you will get a very rare item that you would not have otherwise gotten until very late. And there were other secrets at the Colosseum, knowing what to bet, what not to bet. There were other really cool things. But what about rumors? I'll tell you a rumor. Let me rewind. Let me tell you another secret. The Cursed Shield. Not a lot of people knew that if you battled for, I believe it was 255 battles or 250 battles, maybe it was 350. 255 battles with the Paladin Shield, or the Cursed Shield, it would turn into the Paladin Shield. What player would spend that long battling with this Cursed Shield? This was before the internet. Who would do that? The shield was cursed. it would put your character into a confused trance where he would attack your own party members. And you would have to keep doing that over an endless amount of battles, and you'd be wondering, why am I doing this? What torture? But if you did it, you were well rewarded. And let's talk about a rumor. The biggest rumor of all in my time was a rumor to bring back General Leo back to life. And keep in mind, the game had proven that you could bring characters back from the dead. Rachel was brought back from the dead by Loki. So the game had set the lore to tell you that you could bring characters back to life. The rumor was, if you fought 4,000 battles, I think it was the Phantom Forest. If you fought 4,000 battles in the Phantom, 4,000, that's no joke. That'll take you many, many hours. I tried to do it. I tried. I spent a lot of time. I didn't get anywhere close to 4,000 battles. I don't remember the name of the forest, but there were dinosaurs in the forest, and they were tough. These weren't weak monsters. And even if they were, 4,000 battles is still a lot. So you fight 4,000 battles in there, and then the game gives you a special item. With that item, you can go and resurrect General Leo. But there's a catch. The catch is you cannot get Go-Go, the secret character. You cannot get Go-Go, because that frees up the character space to get General Leo. And with that item, you can go to his grave and use the item. Just a rumor. And I tried to do it. There was no internet back... Actually, wait, sorry, there was internet back then, but it was still in the infancy stage. So rumors like that, you could find online. And the final 6 best RPG ever made. Number 6. Number 6. Is it on this wall? No, it's right here. It's Final Fantasy VI for the Super Nintendo, otherwise called Final Fantasy III. Why is this the best RPG, the 6th best RPG ever made? Why did this make the list? Well, it's quite simple, really. Gameplay. This game continued on with the real-time combat system. And it went one step further. It introduced a whole lot of other gameplay mechanics, such as desperation attacks. And the game didn't tell you about those. You probably didn't even know they exist. And I spent a lot of time finding out what all of them were. Basically, when your character was injured and on the point of death, they would have a chance. It was not 100% chance. It was a small chance to do a very special character-specific desperation attack. You had to risk death to do it. And that's why it was so difficult to even find out. My friend found out about it. I didn't even find out about it. I went through the whole game. I didn't even know. Because every time my character got low in health, I healed them. The desperation attack is meant to be a last-ditch effort. You are about to die. You have no heals left. This is it. The boss or the character that you are fighting, the enemy has to die in one hit or you're done for. Well, you get a, whatever it is, 1% chance, 10% chance, whatever it is, to do a desperation attack, which will do a ton of damage. The game also introduced a mechanic where you could get a bonus during your level ups based on what Esper you had equipped. So you could choose how you wish to build your character. If you want him to be extra fast, extra tanky, extra powerful, you got to choose. And in addition to that, there was no character classes. You weren't You weren't set to, this guy is a warrior, he has no magic, or his magic sucks. It was, I can teach anybody any amount of magic. Some characters will be better at magic because they have naturally more magic power and more magic points. And some characters are naturally faster and have a higher physical attack. Shadow the Ninja is the fastest character in the game, if I remember correctly. And he's naturally fast. I could build up another character and equip the right espers and give them very high speed over amount of time as I level them up. So you could either use the espers to build upon strengths they already have, or build upon weaknesses that they inherently have. So it's a very interesting game. This number 6, the best game ever made. Final Fantasy III is what they call it. Final Fantasy VI. So that is the top 6 RPGs ever made. And that is the definitive list. You might have a different list, but that doesn't mean that your list is better than my list. I already told you. At the beginning of the video, I told you that my list is the list. This list is better than your list. You are wrong. I am correct. You want to fight over it? We'll fight over it. I'll bring you on the show. We'll have a discussion. We'll fight. With words. We will fight. And the winner will have to concede that his game is not the best RPG ever made. As a matter of fact, your game is not even in the top 6. I just listed 6 games. And nowhere on there was your game. Guys, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. And let me know what you think of my top 10 list. And how good is this game right here?